So, with the conclusion of the DBX Season 6, I believe, we now have something for me to make a video on. Hooray. Anyway, let's begin with the first DBX that was released, Gogeta vs. Vegeta. Gogeta vs. Gogeta... Gogeta vs. Vegeta is fine. It's your standard run-of-the-mill Dragon Ball fight, but just not as good. I can see what they're trying to go with here. They kind of, I feel like they kind of wanted to do something similar to the Broly movie, but it just doesn't work with the sprites they used. The sprites they used are just weird. They're kind of like this chibi style, like big head, tiny body kind of thing, and it just doesn't work. I feel like if they just went with a 3D fight, it would have worked a lot better. Or did something similar to Beerus vs. Galaxia, and they made their own sprites with like puppet rigs and stuff, because this just doesn't look, I mean, it's fine, it just doesn't look as good as it should. The reality shattering bit is a cute reference, I guess, but we already had that in Hulk vs. Broly, and I'd argue that it did it way better there. Sorry, I got something in my throat. Also, it just, I mean, I like all the references. It was nice to see Chuck Norris versus Sega to Sanshiro again, but we've seen it, like, a lot over the years. So, please, just stop. I'm sorry, the ending is surprisingly good. At least, because this happens. But, like, the sprite here for Gogeta just doesn't look right. It just does not look right. I really need to stop jinxing myself. Sans vs. Ness is the epitome of a snorefest. It's just so damn boring. I mean, yeah, the Undertale and the Earthbound references at the beginning are pretty cool, but then it just does not hold up. For starters, the animation, while the sprites look okay, I'm not a fan of the Sans sprite they used. It's fine at points, but then when you get to scenes like Ness running here, it just does not look good at all. They also kept Sans' like one hit point in mind, and that's fine, but 1 Minute Melee did it way better. The death is also really boring. Like, I'm not even sure Sans can even do this. I don't even think that's even possible. Bad episode. DBX, why are you so inconsistent? Naruto vs. Ryu Hayabusa is a really good episode. The sprite work on both is amazing, and I really do like how they showed, like, future Naruto instead of going back to whatever Naruto there was. And it's just really fun and really enjoyable. I do feel like it doesn't really take advantage of a lot of Naruto's special moves and stuff. I mean, he does use the Rasengan, kunai, shadow clones, the Kurama forms, and stuff like that. But it's still really enjoyable. And I'm sorry, I just can't stop gushing about the sprite work. It is so good, especially with Ryu Hayabusa. It's so fluid, and it's just awesome. I mean, there are some parts where it looks weird, but other than that, it's just fast-paced action, and I love it. And the ending is just really intense. Honestly, this fight is just breathtaking. It is this whole thing, the whole DBX is just so inconsistent that this is like, look at this ending. Look at this. Hayabusa goes for his black hole move, then Naruto pushes out a Rasengan. He pushes through and then obliterates Hayabusa with a Rasengan. It's just, it is really cool. I like it. I love it. It's a really good episode. Definitely watch this over Sans vs. Ness. Meh. Could have been better, could have been worse. Apocalypse vs. Black Adam is a fine episode. Honestly, probably would have preferred it if it was a death battle and not a DBX, considering that would lead to longer fights. But it's fine. Black Adam's one of my favorite DC villains. Apocalypse is cool enough, I guess. But nothing really mind-blowing happened. It's just your basic super villain fight, I guess. Nothing really mind-blowing happens. They just fight like freaking Superman and stuff. I mean, Apocalypse does use a lot of his abilities, like shape-shifting and stuff. But it's just not that interesting. Just meh. That's really all I have to say on this. It literally, there's nothing to this one. I mean, the giant apocalypse was cool, but, like, still. There's nothing interesting here. It's still a good episode, good animation, good backgrounds this time, looking at you, Sans vs. Ness. But it's just boring. I mean, the pyramid part was pretty cool, but still, it's the rest of it is just your basic cape fight. If you don't know what that means, it basically takes two superhumans, or people who can fly and punch stuff, like Superman or Shazam, and then pit them against each other to fight. That's what this is. Except it's with an X-Men and Black Adam. Overall, meh episode. Could have been better, but could have been a lot worse. So, I guess it's fine. Just watch this over Sans vs. Ness any day. No, I am not going to let that die. I hate that episode with a passion. This is a good episode. I really don't have enough to say about this. It's a good episode. I definitely would have preferred it if it was a hand-drawn episode like Bendy vs. Cuphead. Once again, we have an episode that suffers from Doom vs. Lazitis. That is beautiful backgrounds with sprites that don't fit them, so it looks really, really weird. I'm honestly getting sick of this style. It's already happened 3 times. Not in DBX, just in general. But overall, the fighting is fine enough. The sprites for Roy look good. Zuko uses Todoroki versus Zuko sprites, and those don't look good. But unlike Todoroki versus Zuko, this sprite moves really, really fast and fluid, and it looks good. Except in a few places, like there. It just... I mean, the sprites... They move, like, really fast. And unlike in Zuko versus Todoroki, where they move really, really sluggishly. Also, quick mention, but the lightning part came out of nowhere. Because, like... Also, the backgrounds don't really fit any of the characters. It looks more 20th to 21st century than what I mean, unlike there, it looks steampunk-y, I guess. The death is also kind of weak. I mean, like, just watch. Mustang's gloves burn all. Zuko pulls his sword out of literally nowhere, cuts off Mustang's arms. Mustang barely even reacts before Zuko decapitates him and flies off like this. Yeah. It's a mediocre episode. I gave it the same score as Apocalypse versus Black Adam. Because, I mean, it's a lot lower than Apocalypse vs. Black Adam. It's a 5, but it's a low 5. Low 5. Yet another episode that suffers from Lex vs. Midas. I'm sorry. Stop using this style. It doesn't look good. I mean, okay, I'll give them the sprites look a little better. But still. Anyway, I do like this episode. It's not particularly great, but it's not particularly bad either. It's a good episode. The action is fast-paced. The sprites are really well done, especially with the Blue Ranger. And the action is just really, really good. That's really all I have to say about this fight. Other than the backgrounds, while good, don't fit the characters, don't fit the sprites. Because the characters do sort of fit, I feel like. But still, it just doesn't look good. It doesn't look right. But I can forgive it because the sprite work and the action here are really, really good. Unlike in Sans vs. Ness and Todoroki versus, or Zuko versus Roy, this sprite animation is really, really good, and I really, really like it. I really, really need to stop saying really, really. Overall, it's a solid enough episode. I'd definitely give it a watch. It's just really, really good. Also, one of the Power Rangers won, so Power Rangers desperately needs another win in Death Battle. I'm serious. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Good episode. Watch it. Wow. Just wow. This feels like an actual episode of Death Battle. That's how good it is. Depending on what episode it is. The animation here is amazing. It's so good. Honestly, I really don't have anything to say about this. Anything bad, at least. It's so damn good. I'm really repeating myself, but I can't stop. The animation, the sound design, the effects, it's just so... It's amazing. I really like this episode, in case you can tell. I will admit that... I mean... I guess it is a bit weird that, you know what, no. This episode is amazing. I can't think of... While I'm saying this, I'm trying to think of a negative, but I can't. I mean, I guess Palpatine's model is a little weird looking, but he's Palpatine, so it's fine. It's so cool. This is this is easily the best episode of the season. And the fact that it's playing Brandon Yates' Heartless Empire is just awesome. They really went the extra mile here. Also, Perfect Cell was like the best co-host ever, so yeah. The death is admittedly a pretty weak death, but still, that doesn't stop anything here. It is easily a perfect episode. God damn it! Goomba vs. Koopa 2 is also really good. I don't think I have anything negative to say about it, other than, of course, the JoJo reference. Now, I do like JoJo, but even I think that JoJo references are getting a little old now. Now, this episode, along with Palps vs. Xehanort, definitely feels like a death battle episode. That's how good it is. I also really like how they return to traditional sprite animation, instead of just using some, like, high-end Mugen sprites or puppet rigs, because, admittedly, I'm not a big fan of the puppet rigs. I like this style more. It's just so much more... It's got a lot more character, if you know what I mean. I love how destructive the fight feels. Like, you can look at something like Hulk vs. Broly, and I know I said that it did, like, the whole shattering reality thing better than Gogeta vs. Vegeta. It did. But when it got to, like, when the galaxy destruction scene happened and the planetary destruction happened and all that stuff, it didn't really feel destructive. The sound design didn't really help it at all. Here, in Goomba vs. Koopa 2, the sound design is really good. It can make something like a building level attack feel like a planetary level attack. I love the back and forth blows from the Koopa and the Goomba as they just keep increasing and upping the ante a lot. Especially with the moon scene. The moon scene was amazing. And it did Shattering Reality. This DBX did Shattering Reality better than both Hulk vs. Broly and Gogeta vs. Vegeta. Mario enemies did Shattering Reality better than Dragon Ball characters. That's how intense this fight gets. It is unbelievable. The cameos to all the other fights, like Archie Sonic vs. Wally West, Ben 10 vs. Green Lantern, and Cable vs. Booster Gold, were also really charming. Especially Booster Gold, because he doesn't even react because he's just too busy spinning through the time stream. That just made me want to go watch Cable vs. Booster Gold again, because that fight was way better than it had any right to be. I can't stop gushing about this fight. It's intense, it's destructive, it's enjoyable, and it was a really good way to end off the season of DBX. And that's all that I need. Now that the main bulk of the video is done, we can get onto the side stuff that I have planned. For starters, each of the characters I voted for: Vegeta, Ness, Ryu Hayabusa, Black Adam, Daffy Duck, Roy Mustang, Blue Ranger, Palpatine, and the Goomba. Those are the characters I voted for. Here are each of their wins and each of their losses. Gogeta won, Ness lost, Ryu Hayabusa lost, Black Adam won, Daffy won, Mustang lost, Blue Ranger won, Palpatine won, and Goomba lost. That left me on a win-to-loss ratio of 5-4. And finally, the co-host ranking. Perfect Cell is obviously number 1. He was just such a joy, and Palps vs. Xehanort was amazing. Boomstick is number 2 because Boomstick is by far my favorite death battle character. Sorry, Wiz. Jocelyn is number 3 because we haven't seen her since, like, 2018. Wiz is number 4. I really like how him and Ringmaster bumped heads, because he's all very research and stuff, and Marshall's just like, Ringmaster, damn it, is just all, just here for death and destruction. That's all that's meant for this series. Dummy is number 5 because, he's just in constant pain, so I feel like he wouldn't even care about this, but he was just kind of a bore. Although it was sort of funny how Ringmaster and him kept, like, just canceling each other out with Ringmaster's overwhelming personality. And finally, the Wiz and Boomstick cardboard cutouts. Yes, I am counting them, and yes, they are number 6. It was just not really that funny, to be honest. I feel like they could have gone someone else, maybe. Other than that, it was just kind of boring. But yeah, those are the co-hosts. And that, as they say, is that. Funny story. I actually tried to upload this before, but it got copyrighted and blocked, so I had to redo it. I had to, like, cut the videos up into different pieces and then, like, kind of mash them all together, which is why they were all cut up and weren't in the right order this time. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Do you agree, disagree? Like, comment, subscribe if you... all that stuff. Let me know... Actually, I want to let you guys know something. I want to do some gaming on the channel. Like, kind of like walkthroughs. So, how would you guys feel about that? Would you guys enjoy that? Because I need to know if you guys would enjoy it, so I don't do it, look like an absolute fool when no one watches it, and then never do it again. Because, yeah. Anyway, that's all. I'll see you all in the next video. If you see this, then Rooster Teeth didn't copyright it. Bye.